It's an honor to be here in front of such distinguished guests, family and friends, including Ambassadors Haley and Ambassadors Danan. I believe this is the first tribute to Kurt Rothschild since he passed just a few months ago. One of JCT's earliest and likely longest supporters, it held a special place in his heart always, and so I think it's very important that we honor him tonight. In the next 3 minutes, I'd like to share with you how Kurt Rothschild was an ambassador of God, or Hashem, and how we can learn to emulate him. A story is told of a man who came to the famous Rabbi Levi of Berdichev, and he said, "I don't believe in God." The rabbi proceeded to ask him, "Tell me about this God you don't believe in." He answered, "You know, the man in the sky who's pulling all the strings and always telling us what to do." The rabbi responded, "That God you don't believe in, I also don't believe in." Who then is God, and where is he? Over the past weeks, we've been reflecting on the incredible life and legacy of Kurt Rothschild, or Opa, as we knew him. Many of us have asked how it was possible for him to have accomplished so much. How is he so easily drawn to see the best in others and feel so deeply inclined to help them? And how could someone like him remain so humble throughout? When Israel pulled out of Gaza, there was a very little, if any, plan how to resettle them. Opa realized that he had to step in and committed to fundraise and build one of the first resettlements called Chalutza. Elisheva, my wife, and I went with him to visit as they began building. An agricultural city conceived in a desert. Building began by erecting a shul and dedicating a Sefer Torah in the middle of what seemed like nowhere. For a long time, I believed that we are inconsequential and that our job is to try to make our lives matter, to become consequential. Opa taught me that this perspective is flawed. If we believe that greatness is outside of ourselves, we will never achieve it. Opa accomplished so much because he recognized that God is not found outside of us, but within us. His identity wasn't material. His identity was his soul. A few years ago, an IDF soldier was killed whose parents lived in Toronto. Opa, already well into his 90s, went to the Shiva. He sat in the back and listened. After a while, the family became curious who this elderly man was and his connection to their son. When they asked, he responded that in fact he hadn't known their son, but felt compelled to come as a representative of the Jewish people to share in their pain. Opa believed in others because he identified together with them. The same soul that was his identity is the same soul we all share. This is actually the real meaning of loving your friend as yourself. Opa was never dejected or disheartened because it was never about him. As Lenny said about him, he lived significantly below his means. He sold his company at 53 years old, and every day he left his rented apartment and took public transit to get to his office where he spent his days giving out money and helping others. Opa was an ambassador of Hashem. He identified as his soul. He recognized that the source of his greatness was also the essence of everyone around him, allowing him to be there for everyone who needed him while maintaining an indelible humility. As humans, we are limited. Too often, we identify with our limitations. We see God outside of ourselves and project our pain into an externalized monster. Opa taught us that greatness is already inside us. He saw it even when we didn't, and he'd spend his life investing in us even when we wouldn't. May we all carry on his legacy. May we find our true essence and greatness inside of us, and may we continue building upon the embassy he built for generations to come.